Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Sanford High School for another edition of Sanford High School Athletics. Today we were looking at volleyball. After Sargent came to town for football last night, they've sent the volleyball team for today's matchup between the Sanford Mustangs and the visiting Sargent Farmers. Skylar Timmons here with you this afternoon, calling all the action, the services, the blocks, the kills. Here this afternoon as both teams take to the court for the customary handshakes at the net. Sargent with a smaller JV team. They will send 6 players on the floor, and that's all that they'll have here in this matchup. Sanford will have the numbers advantage as they take to the court. And we're just about ready to get underway here this evening. Starting the sixth for Sargent, you have Liza Davis, number 13, number 15, J.C. Phillips, number 8, Riley Shirley, number 4, Bailey Roberts, number 1, Bailey Roberts, number 2, Kaylee Voss, and number 11, Taylor Adamas. Over on Sanford's end as they wait for the libero, Camry Casillas, to sub in. You have number 11, Casey Gilling, number 14, Letty Larson, number 8, Madison Anderson, number 5, Jewel Cowden, number 12, Julia Reynolds, and number 6, McKinley Miller, as Julie Reynolds will sub off, and in comes the libero, Camry Casillas. So making sure everybody's squared away, they're moving the rotation around. And looks like that Sargent will serve first. So we're just about ready to get underway here. Everybody's sort of milling about. That's usually what happens here with the JV games. Ready to get underway. Davis set to serve. Stands still, sends it to the front row. Anderson's there and bump sets it to the net. Sanford will set it across. In this first rally to go, setting up, tries to drop shot one and misses out of bounds. Comes off the hand of Riley Shirley. Sanford strikes first. 1-0. They take the lead here in set number 1, best of 3. As now Casey Gilling gets the first shot to serve. Stands still, sends it to the back row. The bump set forward, a back set now. And Davis sends it across. Letty Larson gets caught off guard after the front set by Gilling. Caught her off guard. She tried to dive. Ends up hitting off of Larson's hand. Bring up J.C. Phillips. And that's a side out on the service error. So Sanford quickly up 2-1 here in the first set. In comes Julia Reynolds into the front row. Camry Casillas, the libero, set to serve. Fires one across to the right side. And a block slap, and that'll roll down for the point. Julia Reynolds making her presence felt. It's a soft return. Reynolds jumped up, smacked it down. Casillas now with the serve, sends it to the middle back. Here's the set by Sargent. Now Sanford going back with the attack, pushed forward. Voss blocked there at the net by Cowden, but Sanford will reset. Cowden again slaps it over into the net. They keep it alive, and they'll run out of real estate. Failed to get it across, so Sanford leading 4-1. Clear advantage in this one thus far. Casillas set to serve again. Will spring it across. Received there by Shirley. Davis smacks one to the back row. Handled there by McKinley Miller. Sanford sets it over. Bump and going up for the kill and hitting it right into the net is Riley Shirley. Sized it up. Just got on top of it. Sends it directly into the net. So 5-1, Sanford leads here in the first set. Serve comes to the middle row, picked up by Davis. Taylor Adamas will bring it over. And a miss hit there from J.C. Phillips. We'll get a timeout by Sargent. Sanford leading 6-1 here in this first set here on JV. We'll have Sanford here in this first. We'll have the JV here in this set, followed by Varsity. I believe the middle school JV and such were having action over at Centauri, or they have the middle school tournament today. Second matchup in 2 days between Sanford and Sargent. Sanford winning handily in football last night. Now looking to take volleyball across the board here today. Camry Casillas set to serve. Sends one over again. To the right side. Handled. Pushed forward. Voss giving it a look, but both Adamas and Voss gave it a look and nothing doing. Finds the floor. 7-1 Sanford leads. The serve. Received again by Davis. Puts it forward. Voss steps up. Flips it out and finds the open floor in the back row. Camry Casillas went for the dive. Just came up short. Couldn't dig it out. 7-2 now as they get their second point of the match. And brings up Riley Shirley for the serve. Back row, just missing the back line. Nice form, a good standstill serve, but just a bit too much. Misses that back line. 8-2, Sanford leading. Madison Anderson with the serve for Sanford. Davis comes up from the back row, flips into the back. Camry Casillas digs it up, the set over to the right. Anderson will bump it over. Sargent now setting up another attack. And finding the back row, Taylor Adamas gets the kill. Came up on that left side of the net. Couldn't quite get it in that back row. It was Sanford. Bring up Bailey Roberts for the serve for Sargent now. Jewel Calden comes up swinging. So she'll find it, 9-3. Sanford leading it here. Ball rolled into a locker room, but Jewel Calden chases it down. In the middle in the back row. Fires it across. And a sinking liner. Can't get dug out by J.C. Phillips. Sanford's got a 10-3 lead. A beautiful serve there on placement by Jewel Calden. Found that target in the back row. Here's the serve into the middle back. Voss sets it back, and they'll get it across. Sanford working hard. Calden will dump it across. Davis over to the left side. Blocked there at the net, rolls off. Sanford keeps it alive. And that one just misses out of bounds. 10-4 now. Sanford leads it. Brings up Kaylee Voss, set to serve. Coach Sammy Cotton watches from the sideline. And that just misses outside. Short and outside. 11-4, Sanford now leading. Julia Reynolds with the serve into the back row, picked up by Bailey Roberts. Bunched across and aiming for that sideline was Taylor Adamas, but just misses out of bounds. Some nice placement looking for that right side, but couldn't quite get it. Hits off the shoulder. Sanford now dumps it across, tipped at the net by Adamas, and knocked into the net. Sanford couldn't get it across. 12-5. Sargent slowly crawling back as Taylor Adamas now gets ready for the serve. Back row deep. Fires a liner. Picked up by Madison Anderson. The set. Jump by Casey Gilling into the back row. 11-11. On the left to right hit. Letty Larson pushes it over. Sargent tries to push it back. Picked up there by Miller. And Gilling saves herself from going into the net. Davis dumps it over on the set. Set to the left side. Gilling aiming for the back line, just misses. And she got caught a little too much into the net. A good rally is spoiled as Gilling gets carried into the net. So 12-6, Sanford leads it. And a service ace there from Liza Davis. 12-7 now they trail. Slowly picking up some momentum here. It's JV game, first to best of three. Anderson receives it up to Miller, and that's going to run out of real estate. It was an awkward hit off of Anderson, and then Miller came diving in to get it. Ends up drifting a bit too much into the net, and after that, not much Larson could do to get to it. 12-8. Anderson receives, up to Miller with the set. Dumping it to the back row. And out of bounds there on Sanford's end. (12-9) the score. They have closed that gap. Davis to the back row. Casillas handles it. Front set. The attack. No good on Larson there at the net. Tries to slap it down. Again, Larson can't find the line. Just like that, it's a 2-point game. Sanford got that early lead. They have seen it disappear. Davis with the serve. Jewel Calden gets it in the back row. Bump set by Larson and dumped over on a set by Gilling. Davis in the back row, sends it across to the middle, dug out by Casillas into the net. Miller finds it, and they'll get it across. Winding up for the hit and getting it out of bounds. Riley Shirley wound up for the kill, trying to spot it in that back row, just misses. Makes it 13-10, Sanford's advantage. Reserve as Jewel Calden ties her shoe. Serving to the back row. Received over, and Madison Anderson mistimed the jump. Ends up tipping off her fingertips and falling out of bounds to give Sargent the point. 13-11. J.C. Phillips set to serve. Back row, Casillas up front to Miller. Miller just dumped it across and blocked there at the net. Bringing it down, the solo block rejection by Letty Larson. That's Sanford a point and a timeout used here. 14-11 in set number one of the JV matchup between the Mustangs and the Farmers. So Sanford again set to serve. Casey Gilling with Sanford leading 14-11. 11 points needed to win the set. Gilling with the standstill serves into the back row. Received well. Dumped over by Adamas. The set to the left. Calden is off, and that'll ricochet off of Adamas into the background. Sanford leading 15-11. Calden came up, bounds it through. It finds a home on the hardwood floor. Serve from Gilling, left side, picked up by Shirley. Davis will overhead hit it. To the overside. Tipped around, and Sanford just gets tied up on the floor. Shirley with the serve for Sargent. Comes up short, dug out, and that'll end up as an ace. Casillas dove, and it just dinks off the hands. Didn't go anywhere. 15-13. First serve here for Riley Shirley, and that's going to go a little too far out of bounds. 16-13, Sanford leads. Camry Casillas now, the libero, set to serve. Waiting for everybody to get squared away. I think they're just adjusting something there at the scorer's table. Not quite sure what they're trying to figure out, but Sanford leading 16-13. It's probably some sort of rotation miscue or whatnot. That'd be the most logical thing. Sargent is picking up some steam. Started off shaky here in this first set, and then they have settled in nicely since, making it a 16-13 ball game. Went on a stretch there, and now Sanford trying to stave them off. Needing 9 points to take this first set. Well, now refs again continue to talk. They're all squared away now. Not sure what it was about. But we're back to playing some volleyball. Camry Casillas with the serve. Back middle row. The set forward, Adamas ricochets it off the block. Sanford maintains. Dump over by Calden. Been over. And Julia Reynolds got it over. They knock it into the net. Sanford leading 17-13 now. Casillas back to serve. Road dug out by Adamas. Tipped over by Bailey Roberts. Tipped over now by Anderson for Sanford. Adamas back. And just misses that sideline. On the right side, went left to right. Just misses. Sanford leading 18-13. Serve is dug out. Adamas dumps it into the back row. Casillas bump set forward. Set, Calden into the back row. Dink shot. They'll keep it alive. Calden now fakes it. Saved by Voss, and they get it back over. What a play by Sargent. And that's just going to fall on the line. Julia Reynolds with the drop shot. As it finds its home on the floor. As it lands on the hardwood. Now it's on the outside. Jump sets it over. Miller up to the middle. Calden gets it over. Dallas fires one, and Gilling's there to handle it. It's up to the left. Julia Reynolds. It's into the back. Casillas is there. The set forward by Miller. Dumped over. Ricochet shot. Voss recovers nicely. And they'll drop it forward again. And dropping it in. A little drop shot on the low bump by Casey Gilling. Everybody on Sargent's end just froze, and it found a home. Dug out and into the net. Maybe a little miscommunication there on Sargent's end. That results in another point for Sanford. 21-13, they lead it. Davis down low, getting it is Gilling. Calden on the attack, nothing doing. Now answering back is Sargent. Sanford back in control. Julie Reynolds a long overpass. Deep. And getting underneath it, Riley Shirley sends it a little too far out of bounds through the back row. 22-13, Sanford leads it. Prime position to take the set. Cameron Casillas, middle row. Davis handles it. The bump set up forward, and nobody calls for it. Bailey Roberts had a nice bump set. So now 2 points away for Sanford. Cameron Casillas, middle front row. Julie Reynolds trying to block it there at the net, but they'll push it to the back. Sanford now. Gilling takes it and overshoots her target. Makes it a 23-14 ball game. Bailey Roberts now set to serve for the Farmers. Oh, pardon me, it was supposed to be Riley Shirley. They're mixing up the rotation. So Shirley serves, and that's going to go out of bounds at the side out on the serve. Sanford now with a set point. Here to take game set number one. Madison Anderson with the serve. Comes over, handled by Davis, pushes it forward. Up at the net, and it gets blocked there. Bailey Roberts set it a little too far on the bump, carries over the net. Madison Anderson there couldn't quite get it back up over the net in that awkward spot. So 24-15. Serve comes to Casillas in the back row, sets it forward, and nobody's there. 24-16. Sargent trails. Chance for Sargent to get some of that momentum again. Here's the serve, and that's going to go straight into the net, and that'll end your set. Sanford takes the first one, 25-16. They're in the pole position here in this match. So we'll take a quick little break here for set number one. Set number two coming up soon for JV volleyball between the Sanford Mustangs and the Sargent Farmers. Again, final score after set number one, Sanford 25, Sargent 16. Set number 2 about to get underway between the Sanford Mustangs and the visiting Sargent Farmers here on JV. Skylar Timmons here with you this afternoon. Sanford took the first set 25-16. Let's get a substitution. Raven Medina is in there now for Sanford for this to start off this second set. So it'll be Medina, Anderson, Larson in the front row, and then you have Casey Gilling set to serve with McKinley Miller and Cameron Casillas in the back row. Casillas the libero. For Sargent in that front row, you'll have Riley Shirley, Liza Davis, and J.C. Phillips. Bailey Roberts bump sets it forward on the reception. Going for the attack, aiming for the side. Riley Shirley and overshoots the target. Sanford's ahead 1-0 here to kick off set number 2. Gilling with the standstill serve. Dug up by Roberts. And Roberts now will just dump it across and finds it, buries it below. On the other side, Cameron Casillas dove for it. It sunk on her. Began to sink and diving for it, couldn't quite get it. So 1-1 the score. Liza Davis. Bumps it forward. Shirley, soft hit. Medina gets it on Sanford's end. Medina now with the attack gets denied at the net by Roberts and Phillips. Go up for the double block. The old combo. So 2-1. Sanford trailing now. Davis, back row. Medina handles it. Up to Miller. Now Anderson dumps it over. Going up for that attack. Drop shot into the back row. Casillas bumps it forward. Miller now to the left. Medina hook shots it over. And coming into the net was Bailey Roberts. Sanford gets the point. 2-2. Brings up Cameron Casillas. Received there by Adamas in the back row. Voss will get it across. Dug up by Miller. Anderson will just dump it over. Winding up, Shirley sets it over. Sargent again trying to set something up, and that's going to sail too far out of bounds. So 3-2, Sanford now ahead. A little more tightly contested than that first set at the beginning. Now as there receives the serve from Casillas. And blocked there at the net. Madison Anderson and Julia Reynolds play the rule of denier. So they turn Bailey Roberts away. Or pardon me, Riley Shipley away. It's out the hand, so Sanford snags another point. 5-2, they lead it. Casillas again set to serve. Handled by Voss, hits it forward. Phillips drops it in the back row. Gilling gets it. Now on the attack, Julia Reynolds hits it. Davis with a rifle into the back row. Cameron Casillas had it, but it eats her up. As it ricochets backward. The rest of the defenders couldn't wrangle it in. So 5-3. Brings up J.C. Phillips to serve. Casillas Cubs fly it in, dives on her knees. And that one gets mishit off the front of the hands off of Liza Davis. Ricochets out of bounds. 6-3, Sanford leads it. Madison Anderson on the serve. And into the net goes Adamas. Sanford defenders were there to try and block it, but instead just goes straight into the net. Anderson with another serve. Comes to the middle row to Davis, up to Roberts. Back to Davis in the back row. And drops it in, but received well by Casey Gilling. Into the net, Raven Medina gets it over. And they'll just dump across on their second hit, does Sargent. Julia Reynolds mishits. Up at the net, tipped up in the air, and that's going to be a net violation on Riley Shirley. So 8-3, Sanford taking full advantage of the errors by Sargent. Gives them that 8-3 lead. And nobody's there to set it up. Bumped up in the air. Look at this timeout here by Sargent. Kaylee Voss a little frustrated there. Came running forward, thought that Taylor Damas behind her was going to come in and set it. So then Voss could jump and hit it, but ends up falling into no man's land. They now trail 9-3 here in the second set, with Sargent taking another timeout. Madison Anderson still set to serve here. 9-3, Sanford leads it here in the second set. And here's the first serve. Davis bumps it forward. Roberts now setting up Voss. Drops it in. Anderson hits it, doesn't go anywhere, but Sanford will still get it across on the set over by Raven Medina. Push forward on the set, the bump set. Reynolds comes in with the attack, but handled well at the net. Drop shot, getting it in. Bailey Roberts goes with the old tap, tap, taparoo. Dumps it up and over the defense on the blockers and drops it in. 9-4, they lead it. Sanford does. Miller setting it up. Julia Reynolds coming up for the attack on the setup, but just mishits it as it taps into the net. So 9-5, Sargent trails. Riley Shirley with the serve. Cameron Casillas digs it up and rolls back, and they'll send it over. Nice job there by McKinley Miller to keep it alive. Gilling at the net. Miller gets caught bumping into the net. She's tried to stay clear, but her hands graze the net. Otherwise, that's a tough instance for her. Ends up a point for Sargent. 9-6 they trail. Damas aims for that back row. Casillas is there to receive it. Miller comes rushing across. And Raven Medina hits it into, gets blocked at the net. Ends up with that fourth hit. 9-7. Casillas receives it. Up to Miller with the set. Reynolds tools it off the blocker. Taps it back down at the net. Sargent able to handle the block and keep it alive, but then off the block, it gets right up at the net, and Reynolds sends it down. Raven Medina fires a missile in. They're getting caught backward, and that'll land out of bounds. Sanford leading 11-7. Raven Medina again set to serve. 4 in the back, 2 in the front row. Comes across, handled by Davis, up to Voss. Now Adamas, light tapper on a little popper. Reynolds now on, sends it over. Roberts over to Anderson on Sanford's end. Reynolds again, a little drop shot, handled well. Voss now with a dropper. Anderson goes down to a knee to get it. And Reynolds on the serve, ricochets it off the hand of J.C. Phillips. 12-7, Sanford leads it. trying to win the match here in this set. Make it a clean two-game sweep. They might end up playing all three. I'm not sure. Little push over by Gilling. They'll set it up again. Voss tipped at the net. Gilling and Reynolds went up for the block. Ends up rolling off the fingertips, resulting in a point for Sargent. 12-8. They lead it now for Bailey Roberts to serve. She'll stand over on the left side. Stand still, sends it into the back row. Medina pushes it forward, and off the hands of Miller, will just dump it across. Thomas with the attack, and Raven Medina trying to set it forward, ends up just pushing it into the ground. 12-9 the score now in Sanford's favor. Serve now from Roberts, who readjusted before the serve. Reynolds sends it to the back row. Roberts handles it. Voss back to Reynolds in the back set, and she hits it into the net. 13-9, a nice back set by Kaylee Voss. Couldn't quite finish it on the back end as it gets spiked into the net. So here's Julie Reynolds with the serve for Sanford. Into the back row. Shirley received it. As miscommunication there, Raven Medina sets it up in the air, and really nothing else going on as McKinley Miller came flying in trying to get it. Falls down. It's Kaylee Voss on the serve. Cameron Casillas will handle it. Letty Larson, a little too much on that one on the overswing. Sends it through the back line. 11-13, Sanford leads it. Sargent, again, nipping at their heels. Serve comes across. Cameron Casillas handles it. Forward, Larson tips it off the net on the ricochet, and they couldn't recover. Tools it off the blocker. Couldn't recover, and it finds its way home. Now Sanford trying to figure out who's going to serve. McKinley Millhard will get it. 14-11, they lead it. Short serve, and she buries it. Diving in was Bailey Roberts and couldn't quite snag it. Sanford now 15-11. Cameron Casillas with that, or pardon me, McKinley Miller dumped it in. Dumped across there by Davis. Sanford looking to answer back. Gilling saves herself from carrying into the net. From the back row, Roberts into the net. Blocked there, Letty Larson. Sends it back where it came from. 16-11. Nice job on that point there by Sanford. Tapped forward. Now Adamas tipped at the net. McKinley Miller handled it, but then didn't get out of the way as Cameron Casillas runs into the back of her. (16-12) the score. And that hits the back line in the corner. The ace by Taylor Adamas. (16-13) the score. Sanford has had trouble when they haven't been in control of the serves. Back row, Anderson sets it up. Casillas bumps it forward. Larson trying to get up and over on the overhead swing and the overhead bump. Ends up sending it into the net. 16-14 now. Sargent trails. Back row, Medina sets it forward. Miller up for Larson. Drops it down. Davis now to the left side. Shirley is going to overshoot it out of bounds. 17-14. It's now Casey Gilling with the serve. Back row, Voss handles it, sets it forward, dumped over. Miller now. Medina will send it over on the bump. Davis now setting it up in the back row. Roberts sends it to the back row. Casillas up to Miller. Medina now on the left side. Might have ricocheted off a blocker, but Sargent handles it. Tip there at the net, into the left antenna. Sanford snags the point. They now lead 18-14 here in the second set. Here's the serve by Gilling. Davis now up front. Shirley sends it to the right side, but handled well. Now Medina sends for that back corner. Damas was there to handle it. Left across. Miller comes flying in. Medina was set up and hits it into the top of the net. So 18-15. Sargent trails. Lisa Davis. The bump received there. And that set there on the bump by Reva Medina carried into the net. It gets tapped down by Sargent's end. And now they've reached their last set total, 16 points. 2 behind Sanford. Davis serves it over. Casillas digs it up. Miller now to the left side. Medina hits it across to the right. Set in the back. Davis goes for the back row. Handled by Gilling. Miller sets it forward. Medina again tips it off the hands of a blocker. And Davis tips it off the top of the net. Medina's there to handle it. Larson now off of Davis in the back row again. Overhead pass by Phillips. A long one into the net. Tapped down, out of bounds. Sanford comes away with it. Bailey Roberts was right there for the block. Ends up hitting off the hand, goes out of bounds. 19-16, Sanford leads it. Camry Casillas, the libero, set to serve. Short serve to the left side. They'll handle it. Thomas hands it over to Sanford end and miss hit there at the net. McKinley Miller jumped up and again another one of those miscalculations of the jump. Sends it right into the net. 19-17 the score. Flip hit, dug up, and that's going to be an ace. They're aiming for Reva Medina. We'll get a Sanford timeout here. 19-18 here in set number 2. Sargent not going down quietly. (19-18). Sargent staying within this one, trying to keep it alive and push it to a third set. And that serve will head out of bounds off of J.C. Phillips, so Sanford gets the free point, leading 20-18. A little bit of breathing room now. Madison Anderson with the serve into the back row. Ricocheted off, trying to recover, and Davis will hit it over. Miller setting up. Medina for the back row off of Phillips in the back. And finding the floor on the Barry. Taylor Adamas maybe out of desperation turned her back to the net and just flung her hands. Ends up finding some floor on the other side. 20-19 they trail. Sanford trying to find a way. Here's a serve from Riley Shirley. Comes up short. Gilling handles it. Over to Miller. Medina just misses, aiming for that open floor on the right side. Just missing out of bounds. And we are all tied up at 20. 20 all. Deep serve. Casillas sets it forward. Over to Reynolds, who dumps it in. Mishit and miscommunication there. Finds some floor off the hands of J.C. Phillips. Kaylee Voss also was diving for it. Sanford now taking advantage. They'll have Raven Medina set to serve. They'll reset. Davis bumps it forward. Roberts tips it over the top of the net. Miller in the net. And they'll send it over thanks to Cameron Casillas in the back row. Sargent on the recovery. High in the air. Casillas handles it. Medina will hand it over. Another serve. They're set, and that's going to go too far off Adamas. Adamas gets underneath it and sends it past the back row. We'll get a timeout here by Sargent. 22-20. Sanford leads it here in set number 2. (22-20). Sanford in control here, leading. They do have the ball for the serve. So here's Raven Medina with her serve. Out of the timeout. Blocked at the net by Reynolds. And miss hit. Kaylee Voss couldn't get up high enough. Let's go straight into the net. 23-20 now. Medina to the right side. Davis handles it. The set forward, Voss drops into the back row. Casillas again there to handle it. Forward and blocked there into the net. Reynolds didn't get underneath it enough. 23-21. Sargent closing the gap now with the serve for Bailey Roberts. Adjusts over to the right side. So that back corner to Medina. They continue to target her. Larson, Reynolds at the net. They'll dump into the back. Medina now back to the left side. Tapped over by Gilling. Dumped across. Casillas handles it. Up to Miller with the set. Reynolds drops it down off the blocker, but they'll keep it alive and sends it out of bounds into the Sanford bench. Set point. Match point now for Sanford, leading 24-21. Here's the serve from Reynolds. J.C. Phillips digs out over to Davis. Sanford will dump it over. And out of bounds, and that's your ball game. Final score in this one, Sanford takes it. Set number 2, 25-21. They take the match 2-0. And that'll do it here for the JV game. Sanford won 25-16 in the first set. They win set number 2, 25-21. Well-fought match there by Sargent. Tell why they're having a good year, and they'll reset. Not too bad for just the 6 JV players. So that'll do it here for this one. We'll take a break here for about 15 minutes or so until the varsity matchups ready to get underway between the Sanford Mustangs and the Sargent Farmers. Again, final set here for the JV team. JV takes it 2-0. We'll be back here in about, again, 15 minutes. Varsity will get underway. Don't go anywhere.
junior number 10, Reese Anderson. Freshman number 3, Bella Anderson. Sophomore number 9, Mackenzie Console. Sophomore number 5, Candace Barton. Sophomore number 6, Kenny Barton. And sophomore number 7, Katie Deegan. The Farmers are coached by Sammy Huffman and assisted by Shelly David. And now the starting lineup for your Sanford Mustangs. Senior number 1, Brooklyn Reynolds. Sophomore number 4, Claire Crowder. Junior number 3, Avery Tony. Senior number 8, Shasta Bond. Junior number 10, Bella Peterson. And sophomore number 2, Jewel Calvin. And the libero for the Mustangs, sophomore number 7, Brendan Smith. Your Mustangs are coached by Melissa Fawcett, assisted by OG and Mackenzie Fawcett, and their manager, Maggie Larson.
Varsity volleyball set to get underway here between the Mustangs and the Farmers. Skylar Timmons here with you this afternoon.
So fans, a reminder that you can catch, if you're unable to attend in person, you can catch all these events streamed live on YouTube on the Sanford Events channel. And you can hear the play-by-play by yours truly.
Sanford and Sargent ready to get underway here in varsity volleyball. Skylar Timmons here with you this afternoon. What should hopefully be an exciting matchup between these two teams. Already exciting during the JV game. This is a young Sargent team. A lot of sophomores. A lot of youngsters on this squad, whereas Sanford, that good mix. Some seniors, some juniors, and sophomores. So you got that good mix. Sanford will serve first. Brooklyn Reynolds sends it to the back row. Picked up there. And coming up with the big whiff, missing on the set. Bella Anderson can't help, but she kind of chuckles to herself, saying, "Did I just do that? I did not mean to." Sanford takes a 1-0 lead here in the first. Try to catch up here. We'll get our scoreboard back up here in a second. But a quick timeout and meeting everything. So Reynolds set to serve once again. Brooklyn, the senior, sends one across, handled in the back row. Served forward by Reese Anderson, coming up with a big swing and sending it far out of bounds is Mackenzie Console for point number 2 for Sanford. Serve comes across to Katie Deacon, handled. From the back row is Kimmy Pargin. And Sanford keeps it alive, and they can't get it. They got it over the net. They end up into the net, maybe on 4 hits. So Sargent gets their first point. That'll bring up Reese Anderson to start things off for the Farmers. And here's the first set, and that's going to go a little too far. Out of bounds. There's Claire Crowther with the serve. 3-1, Sanford leads it. High in the air, almost touches the roof, but Sanford will keep it in. Bella Peterson comes in to knock it across. The serve by Katie Deacon, blocked there at the net by Shasta Bond. They'll reset as they'll knock it over. Top of big swing, misses out of bounds. Bella Peterson does. That'll bring up Bella Anderson now to serve for the Farmers. There at the net, up high. Kimmy Pargin, handled there by Brooklyn Reynolds, dumped across by Brilliant Smith, the libero. Tapped over and into the net. Perhaps blocked there by Koenig and Bond. Sanford comes away with the point. 4-2, they lead it. As Jewel Calden subs back in, out comes Smith. And you will now get Avery Koenig set to serve. Koenig steps up, fires across, handled there by Katie Deacon. And carried into the net there was Reese Anderson on the set. Line judges right on there. They look to Brenda Larson for the call. Nothing doing. Next serve from Koenig comes to the left side in the back row, picked up by Mackenzie Consul. Forward with the attack. Off the hand of Kimmy Pargin. Sanford now on the attack once more. Peterson's shot handled by Katie Deacon. They are just exchanging blows as Claire Crowther bodies flying, and Sanford just gets caught off balance. Unable to really set themselves up for success on that final blow. Ricocheted around a couple times. That'll bring up Mackenzie Consul, 5-3 the score. Serve comes across, and that'll drop for an ace. Claire Crowther took a step towards it. Thought, no, it's going to be too long. Ends up finding the court. So 5-4. Sanford leads it. Consul with the serve. Handled there by Bella Peterson. Reynolds with the set. Peterson with the attack. Dug out there by Consul. But the net a big swing. And that'll be a point for Sanford as it gets knocked out of bounds. Just missed the tips of their fingers. It comes across, dug up by Consul. Pushed across by Candace Pargin. Dumped over, setting up. Pargin comes up big on that one. Hits off the hand of Brinlyn Smith, who was already dug down deep. It sails out of bounds, so 6-5. Sanford leads it here. It's now Candace Pargin with the serve. Smith handles it, sets it forward. Smith to the left side, tapped across off the blockers, and they'll get it back across. Nice effort there on the soft tap, and it toes one off the blockers. For the point, Bella Peterson coming up with the kill. Tooling one off the blockers, worked out nicely. Serve from Peterson, set up nicely. Reese Anderson comes up big, and that one's gonna tool that one off the blockers. Jewel Calden and Shasta Bond in that front row. 7-6, Sanford with that narrow lead, 9-5 on the year, 4-1 in league. Won their last match 3-0 against Center. Is reaching up and over, or reaching up into the net, reaching up to block at the net, so to speak. Center knocks one down, or Sargent knocks one down and ties it up 7-7. Sinking liner, but picked up by Smith. Punched over by Claire Crowther, and she buries it. Facing Center, they won 3-0 against Center. Lost 3-0 to Centauri last time. And that serve goes straight into the net from Brinlyn Smith. Ties it back up at 8. It's now Katie Deacon set to serve. Tipped off the top of the net. Shasta Bond handles it. Blocked there at the net. Knocked back over and finds the line. Brooklyn Reynolds dumps it in. Nice job there on the recovery. They find the floor. 9-8 the score. Reynolds with the serve, knocks it across. Jump tapper by Reese Anderson. Sanford now sets it up. Tipped off the blockers. Sanford will reset here on the set. Koenig blocked at the net. Recovers. Now Crowther will just dump it over softly. Shasta Bond aiming for that back corner. Release some hands. Comes up empty. Tied back up at 9. A little back and forth affair here early on in set number 1. A best of 5 matchup. Serve from Reese Anderson to the back row. Bella Peterson on the bump set sends it too far forward. And just like that, Sargent now up 10-9. Jump serve, a bullet to Bella Peterson who handles it. Shasta Bond now dumps one in. Gets the kill, ties it back up. Serve tips off the top of the net, but dug up there by Candace Pargin. Blocked at the net. Shasta Bond again says no, no, no. Does her best Mutombo impression. Dikembe Mutombo, the NBA Hall of Famer, recently passed away. Spent time with the Nuggets in the early days of the Nuggets. Basketball, and again Bond comes up swinging down. Gets the kill, 12-10. Sanford doing nicely. Up. Sargent coming into this one. They are undefeated thus far. This one goes out of bounds. Sargent gets the point back. They are undefeated on the year, 15-0. 6-0 in the 1A Southern Peaks League. Smith up forward to Reynolds. Coming up, tips off the hands. Bella Peterson on the attack. Reset here. Katie Deacon aiming for that back line. Sends it out of bounds. Sanford ahead here, 13-11. First serve from Avery Koenig. Coming up. Candace Deacon spikes it down and tools it on the rollover off the blockers. Claire Jewel Cowden and Shasta Bond there at the front line. Couldn't quite get it. 13-12, and that serve's going to go far and deep by Mackenzie Consul. Sails out of bounds. Sanford leading 14-12 here in the first set. Shasta Bond, the senior, now set to serve. First one comes across, dug up. Candace Pargin, dumped over by Kimmy Pargin. In the air, tapped over, and that's coming into the net. Sargent with the net violation. Katie Deacon saying we'll get a timeout here. Sanford leading 15-12 over the Sargent Farmers. Well, looking at Sargent's schedule this year, well, they've won 15. In terms of sets, they have lost 3 sets this season. They won the game 3-1 against Del Norte. And then their most recent one, probably their toughest match of the year, won a full 5 games against Buena Vista last week, won 3-2. Apparently winning the final set 15-5. They're winning the first 2 sets against Buena Vista and then losing set number 3 and 4 for taking number 5. So the serve from Bond. The air, and that's going to just miss out of bounds. Aiming for that back line. They're coming up swinging, but just missing those spots. Sanford taking advantage. They lead 16-12. Dug out by Candace Bargen. Now back and blocked there at the net by Calden and Peterson. Taps it across and they'll just dump it over and find the court. Katie Deacon getting the kill. 16-13. Brings up Candace Bargen to serve. Jump serve from the left side. Back row, Smith tips it forward. Setting up Peterson. Blocked there at the net and tools it off the blockers. 17-13 now. Set forward, Bargen, cross the way, dug out by Peterson. Calden might have gotten distracted, not sure where the ball went. Brooklyn Reynolds ran into the back of her. They couldn't quite pick it up, so 17-14. Kimmy Bargen now set to serve for the Farmers. They do not have a libero. And that's a service ace. Burying one on the bullet, the sinking liner just past Shasta Bond, who couldn't get it. Get underneath it for the pancake. 17-15 now. Bargen again back to serve. Tipped off the top of the net, but Brooklyn Reynolds handles it. And Sanford runs out of room there. 17-16. They went with the bullet sinker and then the one that kind of goes short to tip off the top of the net. Here's the serve from Bargen. Center row again. And the ricochet back, and Reese Anderson sends it home. Tie ball game, 17-17. Brendan Smith coming in. Serve from Bargen. Smith gets it up in the air. Rose Schwartz is in there now for Sanford. Tip forward, that's into the net. Miss hit by Reese Anderson. So Sanford able to steal a point back, leading 18-17. Brings up Smith, set to serve for the Mustangs. Jump serve into the back row, too far, and we're tied back up. Katie Deacon with the serve. Smith handles it, upper forearm. High in the air from Reynolds. Crowther dumps it across. Set at the net. And a miss hit there, a double hit. So Sanford gets the point on the violation by the Farmers. Shasta Bond comes back in on the front row. Brooklyn Reynolds set to serve. Sanford leading 19-18. Here's the serve. And that'll eat up Katie Deacon for the ace. Brooklyn spots it in that back row corner. And it hits Deacon up on the biceps. Nowhere else it could go, and nobody could get to it. So 20-18, Sanford leads. Reynolds goes right back there to that back corner. And set up. Anderson dumps it over. Brooklyn Reynolds with the back set. Koenig eaten up again from the back row. An attack from Deacon. Sanford again will set things up. Crowther dumps it over on the tapper. Another drop shot. And miss hit into the net by Crowther. She had the windup all set, and it goes right into the net. 20-19, Sanford leads it. Reese Anderson set to serve. Jump serve. Bond sets it forward. Reynolds. Back to Bond. Just misses the back row. Tied back up at 20. 20-20 in a exciting matchup thus far here to kick off the varsity game. First set, 20-20. Anderson with the serve. And that's going to ricochet backwards off of Bella Peterson. Her and Brendan Smith both converged on it. No one was able really to get behind it, and it sails to the back. So 21-20, Sargent leads it. In comes again. Bond receives it. Bond now on the serve and sends it home for the kill. We're tied up at 21 now, with Claire Crowther set to serve. Sends it over Deacon, sets it forward at the net, and trying to get the block is Avery Koenig, but Candace Pargin is able to do the roll shot. 22-21. Brings up Bella Anderson with the serve. Peterson to Peterson. Bella Anderson to Peterson. Throw blocked there at the net. Shasta Bond tips it up. Bella Peterson knocks it home. 22-22. Deuce is wild at this point. Brings in Jewel Cowden. She'll take a place in the front row as Avery Koenig now set to serve. This has been a type of volleyball you like to see. First serve, high in the air. The jump set, tapped over, and coming into the net. Sanford, mistake there. So now 23-22. Sanford looking to get a point here. As Mackenzie Consul with the serve. Brenlin Smith backwards. Reynolds pushes it forward. And now Smith. And that's point number 24 for Sargent. As Candace Pargin comes in. And now with Sargent ready for the set point, it's 24-22. Sanford takes a timeout here. They've been trying to do their best to not get eaten up on some of those shots. Is Sargent setting up very well on the attack to come up for that spike hit. Go for the kill. They're not got the nice setup right there at the net. So Sanford trying to handle that. Mackenzie Consul gets ready to serve here. Set point for Sargent. Here's the serve. Peterson forward with the set. Peterson now on the attack. Drops it in. Ricocheted off. Sargent handles it. Knocked over. Now Crowther up to Reynolds. Bond hits it in and it's ricocheted off the blockers. Sanford staying alive. They'll get the ball now. Shasta Bond set to serve. 24-23. Here's the serve. And that's high in the air. They just dug that out. Up comes Peterson, and in it goes. There was a net violation. It would have been a point anyway, but we're tied up at 24. It is a win by 2 scenario. So now it's practically 0-0. Here in this first set, Shasta Bond again set to serve. Looking to put Sanford ahead. First serve comes in. Anderson up in the air. Ricochets off. Claire Crowther receives it. Reynolds with the set. Peterson gets blocked at the net. Katie Deacon comes away with the block. Set point again now for Sargent. The serve. Front row. Again, Smith handles it. They'll dump it over. Set forward. Back to the back row. Consul. Blocked there at the net. Tied back up again. 25-25 the score. Bella Peterson with the serve. Picked up by Anderson. The attack, and they'll find the back row. Kimmy Pargin. Again, advantage Sargent. Pargin, after scoring that point, will now serve. Sanford trying to keep it alive. Brenlin Smith with the set. Now Crowther. We'll reset here. Bell Anderson dumps it over. Dug up by Peterson. Crowther tools it off the blockers off the top of the net. The back and forth continues. Trying to get 2 points in a row. Here's Brenlin Smith with the serve. Back middle, miss hit. They keep it alive. Katie Deacon gets it across, and that'll ricochet off. Sanford will get the point out of bounds on Sargent. So now Sargent will take a timeout. 27-26 here in set number 1. Sanford now with the set point. Well, taking this first set would be huge for the Mustangs. That back and forth affair as Coach Sammy Cotton calls the timeout for the Farmers. They've just been exchanging blows. It's been a back and forth affair this entire set. It now sits 27-26. Now Brenlin Smith trying to send it home for the Mustangs. Serves it to the back row, drops it in for the point. Sanford takes the set. 28-26. Brenlin Smith with the ace gets the set point, and that's how set number 1 will end. Sanford takes a 1-0 lead. Oh, what a way to kick off the first set of this best of 5. In a way, you hope all the sets are that exciting. In some ways, if you're maybe Sanford or Sargent, you're hoping, I hope it's not that exciting. A lot less stressful, a lot less room for error in that type of scenario. But Sanford comes away with the victory, swiping that set away from the Farmers. Set number 2 ready to get underway here between the Sanford Mustangs and the Sargent Farmers. Varsity Volleyball. Set number 1 ending by a score of 28-26. Sanford winning the sudden death back and forth on a final ace from Brenlin Smith, the libero. So Sargent looking to answer back and keep their perfect season alive. Find themselves down 1-0 to start this one. Junior Varsity lost 2-0 to Sanford. And now Sanford Varsity takes the first set 1-0. Brinlyn Smith taking some earrings out. So here we go, set number 2. Reese Anderson will kick things off for the Farmers. She'll go in with the jump serve, sends it to the back row. Bella Peterson receives it for Sanford. Claire Crowther into the net will just dump it over on the bump. Tipped at the net, eats up Shasta Bond, but Sanford keeps it alive. Claire Crowther tools it off the blocker. Mackenzie Consul was there to block the hit from Crowther. Ricochets out of bounds. Shasta Bond took a shoulder check. Serve to the back row. Doan set forward. Dumped over. Brinlyn Smith's there to receive it. Up to Brooklyn Reynolds. And Claire Crowther will spike that one right into the net. 1-0 now. Or 1-1. As now Bella Anderson will serve it across. Sends it to Bella Peterson. And sniping it into the corner for the kill is Shasta Bond. 2-1, Sanford leads it. Claire Crowther now set to serve. Nice job there coming in from that left side. Shasta Bond snipes it into that back corner on the right for the point. Claire Crowther with a sinking liner. Katie Deacon handles it. Tipped over the top of the blockers. Candace Pargin, like she's doing a layup in basketball, tips it over the defenders for the point. Tied at 2. Comes across, dug up by Crowther. Bella Peterson going up for the kill. Ends up sniping it into the net. 3-2 now. Sargent takes the lead. They really got the one little drop point, and then Sanford has made a couple of errors. Here's Mackenzie Consul with the serve. Comes to the back row to Brinlyn Smith. Blocked there at the net, but it's knocked out of bounds off the blockers. Tied back up at 3. Shasta Bond comes up with that big, heavy swing. Got lucky there as it gets knocked out of bounds. So Shasta Bond, or pardon me, Avery Koenig with the serve. Knocks it over. Pargin to Kimmy Pargin, and coming into the net with Sanford. Might have been Avery Koenig that got carried into the net. Sargent leading 4-3. Reynolds up in the air now. Shasta Bond trying to aim for that back corner, but handled in the back by Mackenzie Consul. Sanford again will reset on the attack. Punched over by Bella Peterson. Now at the net. Pargin into the back row. Claire Crowther receives it. Bella Peterson hits it off the arms of Bella Anderson. And ties it back up at 4. It is just point for point. Teams going back and forth. And that serve from Bond goes straight into the net. So Sargent will take a 5-0 lead. It's the serve from Kibby Pargin. And sinks one down, and Claire Crowther dove to get underneath it, but couldn't quite get enough. It ricochets off the hand. A 2-point lead now for the Farmers. Pargin knuckling it. And the legal hit there by Sanford on that set from Brooklyn Reynolds. Ends up as a double hit. And it's those mistakes Sanford will have to cut down on him to close that gap. In the air now. Bella Peterson tries to drop shot it in, but it's out of bounds. So what we're seeing so far is Sanford will take a timeout. Seeing it's not so much Sanford is getting beaten, but they're just kind of defeating themselves. It's something we've seen several times where the errors start to creep in, and especially against a good team like Sargent has right now. Well, those errors will kill you. Sargent has shown they're not going to make many mistakes, so you have to come back at them that force. Can't give them those free points. They've got to earn them. So that could be what's Coach Fawcett's telling her kids here, telling her players. You got to cut down on those errors. Make sure you're setting up and getting those clean, good hits, setting themselves up for success, because it's going to be hard to crawl out of a deficit. They're down by 4. That's already going to be a hard deficit to overcome thus far with a good team like Sargent. So 8-4. Kimmy Pargin again with the serve. Shasta Bond up front. Claire Crowther, or pardon me, that's Jewel Cowden in the front. Tipped off the hands. Bond diving, and they can't get it back. Down by 5. Sanford seeing their deficit grow. So here's Kimmy Pargin with the serve. Brinlyn Smith receives it. Reynolds with the set. Bella Peterson hits it into the defenders and gets the point. So Sanford trailing now by 4, 9-5. They've got to go on some sort of a run here. If you can get 3 points here in a row, I think that's going to help them quite a bit. Smith handles it. Reynolds now with the long set. Tipped at the net, and it gets off the blockers on the ricochet. Claire Crowther coming away with one. Big play there. 9-6. Peterson again with the serve at the net. Anderson reaching over that net. Ends up bonking the ball off someone's head. 10-6. Now bring up Katie Deacon for the serve. Sanford trailing by 4. Got to find a way to close that gap. Skips off the top of the net. Claire Crowther will dump it over. Deacon hits it in no man's land as Mackenzie Consul was perhaps anticipating it hit somewhere else. Falls out of bounds. Sanford gets a freebie. 10-7. Here's Brinlyn Smith with the jump serve. And that's straight into the net. Like I said, there have been a couple of missed serves by the Mustangs. A couple of those errors going up for a kill. They trail 11-7. Peterson up to the front. Reynolds with the set. Claire Crowther aiming for that back row. Fires too much into that one. Goes out of bounds. Now trailing by 5. Again, a hard deficit to overcome. Dig themselves out of that hole. 12-7. Serve. Peterson handles it. Up to Reynolds with the set. Avery Koenig off the blockers. Getting carried into the net there was Sargent, so Sanford takes home the point. Trailing 12-8. Need someone to go on a run here on the serve. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds, hoping to do just that. Served forward, Anderson. Dumped over by Consul. Hit across by Claire Crowther. Hit by Pargin. Reynolds chases it down. Now the fake. Shasta Bond keeping it alive is Sargent. Peterson now with the bump set by now Reynolds. Shasta Bond trying to drop one in. Dumped across. Smith up to Reynolds. Now here's Crowther and hits it right into the net as it rolls off the hand. (13-8). Once you get down by 8, it's going to be tough for Sanford They're already down by 6. Don't want to fall behind much more. Smith digs one up. Here's Bond. And snipes it in as she buries it for the point. We'll need a couple more like that. Keita Larson had subbed in, take over in the front row. Sanford got the point, so Claire Crowther will come in to serve. Needs somebody to go on a run. And just missing out of bounds. Brinlyn Smith just missing, getting the tip off the hands. 13-10, Sanford closing that gap. Trailing by 3. And that one goes into the net. That serve into the net. Sanford's miss hits are being the bane of their existence right now. 14-10. Here's the serve from Consul. Crowther awkwardly hits it, but keeps it alive. Blocked there at the net. Blocked again. And a point reaching up and over the net is Sargent. Sanford takes the point. 14-11, trailing again by 3. Here's Avery Koenig with the serve. Pushed forward, the set now. Avery Koenig tanks the hit. They'll move it forward. Bella Peterson will dump across on the bump. The set at the net. And that ricochets off of Crowther. Gets eaten up there by Candace Pargin. 15-11. Sargent leads it, and they'll get the ball back here on the serve as Pargin again will set to serve here. Dug up by Smith. Now set by Reynolds. Shasta Bond tipped at the net. Reese Anderson chases it down as Bella Anderson will send it over. Again pushed forward, dumped across, and that's ricocheted back. Smith handles it. Jewel Calden will send it over. And a miss hit there on the illegal hit by Mackenzie Consul. Got on her back heels, reaching backwards for the overhead. 15-12, Sanford trails. Shasta Bond sends her second serve into the net. It's their second in a row that's gone straight into the net. Sanford's had a couple of those here in this go-around. 16-12. Dug up by Smith. Dumped over by Reynolds. Crowther keeps it alive, and this hit, or Calden. I keep mixing them up. It's that blonde hair that gets me. But Sanford will take a timeout here. Trailing 17-12 in set number 2. Really trying to find a way to take a breather and get that rhythm back that they had in the first set. They have just not played cleanly here in this set. They have gifted a lot of those points back to Sargent. And it has not looked pretty for them. So coming out of the timeout, we have Kimmy Pargin, who's had some good serves, ready to go for Sargent. Bella Peterson aiming for that sideline, misses. And now Sargent finds her lead up by 6 here in set number 2. It's a cross, picked up by Smith. Reynolds will chase it down. And from the back row goes Shasta Bond. Pancaked in the air, keeping it alive. They'll send it back over. What a job by the Mustangs. I'm not sure how they kept that up in the air. Bella Peterson, ricocheted back. That'll hit off the antenna. Sanford gets the point. Flirting with disaster, Sanford rallies to take back the point on a little ping pong action on Sargent's end, and it results in a Sanford point. Bella Peterson with a drop serve. Now up in the air. Claire Crowther palms one over. Here's Bella Anderson now. Smith up to Reynolds. Claire Crowther punches it across. Miss hit. Bond now receives it. The set coming up. Crowther off the fingertips. Nothing doing. Goes to the left side now. Does Deacon. And then Smith now from the back row. And that goes out of bounds. Sanford wins the rally. Now trying to close that gap again. It's kind of what happened in that first set. Sanford down the stretch, managing to crawl their way in. Trying to do it again. At the net, Jewel Calden knocks it over, blocked there, and rolled off the hands of Jewel Calden. No one was able to pick it back up. Killed all that momentum off her fingertips. So Sargent now leading by 5 again, 19-14. Katie Deacon with the serve. That just misses the back line. Sanford back within 4. Back and forth affair, juggernaut swinging. In the air, the set, an illegal hit on Sargent's end, a double hit. (16-19). Here's Brynlyn Smith again. That'll serve off the roof, and that's still going to find its way into the Sargent bench. Well, perhaps Sanford does have a little bit of magic left in this set. Slowly crawling their way back, chipping away, down by 2, 19-17. The back row set forward, miss hit. They'll try to reset here. Reynolds up to Crowther. Crowther tools it off the blocker. Reese Anderson was right there, and it ricochets off her hand. Sanford trails by 1 now. They have come all the way back. The serve up to the net, at the net, tipped. Smith diving to get it. Reynolds sets it forward. Smith will just tap it across. Bargin to Pargin. They'll reset again. Here's Crowther. Tools it off the blockers. We're all tied up again. Whoa, Nelly. We are all tied up at 19. Sanford has gone on that run they've been looking for. Again, it's essentially first to 6. Comes in. Now up Crowther with the setup. Off the hand of Candace Bargin. Now Consul. And that redirected some of the momentum, carried Bella Peterson away. And so now Sargent takes the lead, 20-19. The serve. And that's inbounds. They thought it was going out. Shasta Bond let it go. And it's costly there. They now trail again by 2. It's Reese Anderson. Comes in with the serve. Smith bump sets it forward. Now Reynolds to the left side. And Claire Crowther brings the hammer down to bury it. This is the kind of volleyball you like to see. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds with the serve. Goes to the right side. Handled there. Anderson up to Pargin. Blocked at the net! Shasta Bond and Avery Koenig combine to take them down. Ho, ho, ho. Tied back up at 21. Here's the serve. Net, and that's going to overshoot the target. Sanford has the lead. And we'll get a Sargent timeout here. Tied 22-21. Sanford is doing everything they can to take this set and take a 2-0 lead. And oh my goodness. Apologize for blowing out your ears on the microphone. This is one of the more exciting games we've seen this year. And Sanford showing some of that resilience they have needed all season long. Now, there's been good games, there's been bad games, there's been some in between. And this is one of those instances where we're seeing the good and perhaps some of the best that Sanford's played this year, against a tough opponent. There's times where you elevate your game to match your opponent. And sometimes you find yourself lowering your ability when you're playing a lower team. But this is a good matchup, and it's really coming through here. 22-21, Sanford leads it. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds with the serve coming out of the timeout. Here's the serve. Handled there by Katie Deacon. At the net, tipped, and Reynolds gets the ricochet. Here's Claire Crowther, pushes it over. Again, set up at the net. Pargin, little tapper. Koenig to her knees gets it. And Claire Crowther muscles one across. And that's a Sanford point as it ricocheted off the blockers. Ho-ho! 23-21. And another Sargent timeout here. The blockers went up. Claire Crowther smacked the snot out of the ball, as so they say. And now all of a sudden, Sanford finds themselves 2 points away from taking a 2-0 lead here in the match. In set number 2, they lead 23-21. And they're coming alive. They're keeping things balanced. They're moving well, getting the setups on their attacks perfectly on their possession. So here we go, 23-21. Brooklyn Reynolds set to serve. The serve to the back corner, high in the air, almost kisses the ceiling. Sargent pushes it over. Brooklyn Reynolds and will send it back in. Getting it is Koenig. They get it back across. What a job by Avery Koenig to save that one. And an illegal hit, a double hit by Brooklyn Reynolds going up for that set. So that closes the gap. Sargent gets the ball back. 23-22 in control with the serve. Bella Peterson handles it up to Reynolds. And now here's Shasta Bond, drops it into the back corner. High at the net. Blocked there at the net, ricocheted back. They'll keep it alive. Smith handles it up to Reynolds. And now Crowther gets blocked at the net. Again up in the air, and Reynolds will dump it across. Anderson up to Pargin, blocked there at the net, and it ricochets off, and we're tied up again at 23. The serve from Bella Anderson into the net. Sanford now in the pole position. Set point. Crowther with the serve. Double hit there. At the net. Blocked at the net. Sanford takes set number 2. They get the block at the net. 25-23. Sanford's got a 2-0 lead. Well, the Mustangs, it didn't look pretty at the beginning of that set. They somehow managed to rally, fight their way back. They took a lead. They tied it up at 19, and then they took a brief lead, a little bit back and forth, and then punch it across, rallying in the later goings. Well, now they're looking to, they now have the advantage of being up 2-0 here in the match. And we'll look to send it home in set number 3 coming up in just a couple minutes. Well, I guess they decided they don't want to wait around for a couple more minutes, so we'll get ready for set number 3 here in about 30 seconds or so. I think they're just going to let that clock run down as the judges discuss some things. But what a matchup this has been this afternoon between the Mustangs and the Farmers. Well, in all the excitement, I ended up accidentally poking my hand with my pen. Though if anyone cares, I am okay. It just poked it. But boy, did it hurt. But set number 3 about to get underway. So a quote for the books. How did you feel after the injury? It hurt. Hey, it's a dangerous game being a broadcaster for these Sanford games. Rolled my ankle last week at the football game. Rough go of it. Set number 3 underway. Blocked at the net. Sanford will kick it off with a point. Avery Koenig and Shasta Bond combining the powers of friendship to knock one down at the net. 1-0 Sanford leads it. Brooklyn Reynolds sends it across. Deacon to the back row. Peterson up forward on the set. Claire Crowther pushes it across on the fake attack from Shasta Bond. Back corner, Peterson up to Reynolds. Now Crowther, and that'll ricochet off of Bella Anderson into the seats. Sanford leading 2-0. Well, for Sargent, an undefeated season on the line. They're down 2-0 here in the match, best of 5. And an illegal hit there by Candace Pargin. Sanford ahead 3-0 here. Trying to extend that lead as much as they can. Get that nice, comfortable lead as much as you can here on this first go-around with the serve. Tipped off the hands, and Sargent comes away. They say that didn't hit any hands. It goes out of bounds. Sargent not happy on that one. 4-0. In the air. And that one's hit out of bounds. Off the hand of Reese Anderson. 5-0. Sanford leads it. Reynolds to the back row. Now here comes Consul, drops it in. Reynolds is there to knock it back over. Caught everybody by surprise. And that'll finally tool off the blockers. A point there for Bella Anderson. Sargent gets on the board. Good one there. So 5-1. Sanford leads it. As Reese Anderson with the serve. Back rope. Bond sets it forward. Now receives it back. Tries to snipe it into that back corner, but overshoots her target. 5-2. Sargent taking those freebies where they can. Sanford cut those down in that later half in set number 2. They just got rolling. And blocked at the net. Bond came up big for the swing, but Candace Pargin's right there. That combined with the net on the pressure sends it into the net. 5-3. Here's the set, or here's the serve from Anderson. Low, picked up by Peterson, but it carries into the net. Kind of an awkward spot for him. 5-4. Quickly that 5-0 lead is dissipated. So here comes Anderson with the serve. Smith bumps it forward. And Reynolds with the set. Shastabon will just set it across. Crowther with the quick reaction gets it. A double hit there on that set by Brooklyn Reynolds. And we're all tied up at 5. So just like that, 5-0 became 5-5. Shastabon drops one over. Little tapper from Reese Anderson. Now here's Crowther. And the dig by Kimmy Pargin keeps it alive for Sargent. Nice job there. Tapped over. Here's the back row. Katie Deacon keeps it alive. Pancaked, and they kept it alive. The rebound from Mackenzie Consul. A little dink shot. Drops over. And so 6 straight points for Sargent. They lead 6-5 here in set number 3. Brooklyn Reynolds dove for it, got a hand underneath it, and tried to pancake it up. But it ends up ricocheting the wrong way. Nothing they can do. 6:13 on the clock here this evening. Started at 4 o'clock. JV matchup went just the 2 sets. Sanford winning 2-zip. And then here in the varsity, if you're just barely joining or you are in around for those first 2, Sanford won a thriller 28-26 in set number 1. Then they rallied back in set number 2 to win 25-23. They now trail 6-5 here in set number 3. Trying to win this one is Sargent, trying to keep an undefeated season alive. Bond with the set over to Reynolds. Crowther dumps one over, picked up by Candace Pargin. Punches it across. Reynolds now with the set. Here's Crowther again, and she'll bury it for the kill. Tied up at 6. And that'll bring up Claire Crowther for the serve. There have really been no substitutions on Sargent's end. And there's just a couple that happened for Sanford, not many. And it's just subbing out Brynlyn Smith every once in a while. Little tapper, and Brooklyn Reynolds can't get the pancake up as they're reverting to the little drop shots over the blockers, as Avery Koenig and Shasta Bond have perhaps put that fear into them, or at least cause them to respect that a little bit better. Oh, maybe we need to change up that tactic, and it's working thus far. Here's Peterson. Sends it across, picked up by Deacon. And that's blocked at the net, but off the hands of Bond and Koenig, and it ricochets out of bounds. 8-6. Sargent leads. Here's Bella Anderson with the serve. Crowther receives it, up to Reynolds. Bond on the quick serve. That'll eat up. They'll finds the open floor. Ricocheted off of Bella Anderson in the back row. Consul almost got that ball back in, but ricochets off. So here's Avery Koenig with the serve for Sanford. 8-7, Mustangs trail. Anderson sets it back. Consul drops it in, but dug out by Koenig. Peterson aiming for that back corner, just misses on the back row. 9-7. Here's Mackenzie Consul. The set by Smith. Here's Bond, a receiver shot. And just tipping it across the net is Katie Deacon. They keep going in for that fake. The Deke drawing the blockers, and then they just tap it over for the little drop shot. Sanford's got to figure out a way to adjust to that. Serve comes in. Here's Reynolds. Up to Bond. Bond tips it off the blocker, and they'll keep it alive. Here's Consul from the back, a little dropper. Again, Smith goes down to a knee to get it. Here's Bond again, and she snipes it home for the kill. 10-8 now, the score. Sanford trailing by 2. Coach Mackenzie Fawcett, or Melissa Fawcett, rather. Pacing in anticipation. Katie Deacon hits that back line, just scratches it. 11-8, they lead by 3. Sanford trying to make it a clean sweep. Sargent looking to push it to a game 4 and keep their undefeated season alive. Smith hits it with one hand, dumped across by Anderson or by Reynolds. Bond goes back, gets it. Reynolds sets it up forward. Peterson trying to tap it across, but gets blocked. Smith was there to recover. And overshot there by Peterson. Extends their lead 12-8 here in set number 4. Here's Candace Pargin with the serve, and that one's straight into the net. Sanford catches a break there. 12-9, they lead it, or they trail now. They'll bring up Bella Peterson. Drops one into the back row. Consul handles it. They'll get it forward to Reese Anderson. Reynolds with the set. And Bond rifles one down. Handled by Sargent again. Brinlyn Smith with the set. Now Reynolds with the high set. Crowther gets blocked at the net. Tries to recover and ends up knocking it away from Brinlyn Smith, who was right there to try and get the recovery. It's hard to fight your own reactions. That ball's coming right at you. You've seen Claire right there was kind of frustrated. Comes up big on the swing, hits off the blockers. Here's Deacon. And handled there by Bond. And Bond spikes one into the net. They're falling behind now, 14-9, and this is the issue in the first 2 sets. Sanford's mistakes really eating away at him. Here's Kimmy Pargin with the serve. Receive. And a point there. A double hit by Sanford. So just like I said, the mistakes eating Sanford alive. They have to clean those things up if they'll take a timeout here. It's the same thing that happened in the first 2 sets. I'm not sure what changes for them, but one mistake happens and then it just kind of snowballs. So a good job calling the timeout here by Melissa Fawcett. To settle things down and change that, try to change that momentum get them back on that mindset. Because this has happened these past 2 sets, where Sanford's mistakes dig them a hole that gets hard to get out of. This is exactly where they were last set, and some way, somehow, they managed to crawl back in and take the set. So that's what you have to figure out to do right now if you're Sanford. For the Farmers, we got to keep that foot on the gas pedal. Keep the pressure on Sanford. Let them make the mistakes. We'll do what we can, do those fundamentals on their side. They've done well on that tonight. But it's sometimes they just run out of steam and Sanford gets that rally going. Push down, they'll find the open slot in the back corner. 16-9, they lead it now. Sanford trailing, trying to find that momentum. Brinlin Smith handles the serve. Brooklyn Reynolds snipes it in for the kill. Goes on the second hit, says, I'ma just dump it across. And snipes it in to that left side. And here's Brinlin Smith with the serve, laser to the back row. Anderson blocked at the net, but nobody's there to pick it back up. (17-10). They got the block on the ricochet, but nobody moved. They thought it was going back down over. Instead, they muscled it past the blocker. Here's Katie Deacon, and that goes straight into the net. Not sure if that was intentional or not. Might have been just a waste serve. But Sanford looking for that roll here with Brooklyn Reynolds. Here's the first one. Here's Consul. Goes on the arc. Avery Koenig pushed it to the back row, dumped across. Reynolds is there to pick it up. Crowther through the blockers, but they handle it. Blocked at the net, kept alive by Bond. Blocked there at the net by Reese Anderson, gets the point. 18-11. This hasn't been a clean set for Sanford. Is now Reese Anderson set to serve. Peterson up to Reynolds. Reynolds with the set. Here's Crowther. And dug out there by Sargent. Here's Bond with a big hit. Gets the kill. Trailing by 6. Sanford playing some deja vu here. Looking for the same result, though. In the air. Consul finds Reynolds. Reynolds to Koenig. Koenig with the set. Peterson taps one over. Ricocheted off a couple of hands. And that keeps it alive. Reynolds up to Bond, who gets blocked at the net by Candace Sargent. (19-12). Avery Koenig hits it off the blockers and knocked out of bounds by Candace Sargent. Sanford staying alive here, trailing 19-13. They trail by 6. Got to close that gap here. Go on a run. We'll wait here for Kimmy Sargent to tie her shoe. She's all good now. Here's Avery Koenig now set to serve. And that was rifled across, no good, or handled nicely. Ricochets off the blocker. (20-13) now. Sargent leads it. This might likely push to a game, to a set 4. And that just misses out of bounds. So Sanford gets a freebie on the serve. Tried to get that drop shot. That was very close on that sideline. So here's Shastabon, tips it off the top of the net, ricocheted back. Nice recovery there by Reese Anderson. And they'll get it back across. Reynolds with the set. Here's Jewel Calden, tipped off a blocker. And they'll keep it alive and get it over. The set forward. Now here's Bella Peterson, snipes it in for the kill. Sanford needed that one. Trailing 20-15. And we'll get a timeout by Sargent here. Looking to close it out here for set number 3. (2015) Sanford trailing. Shastabon set to serve. Leading 2-0 in the game. Blocked there at the net by Jewel Calden. Gets the point. Sanford stays alive. Trailing by 4. Looking to keep that rhythm going here. Here's Shastabon again with the serve. Tips off the top of the net. Candace Pargin will knock it back over. Here's Bella Peterson off the blockers, tipped backwards, and they'll keep it alive. Nice job there by Consul. Just slightly tapped over, and they spike it on the right corner. On the line. 21-16, they lead it. Looking to take set number 3. Here's Candace Pargin, set to serve. Brenlin Smith sets it. Here's Bella Peterson, drops it in. Long set over to Kimmy Pargin, dug out again by Brenlin Smith. Up again, here's Bella Peterson. Tapped forward. Reynolds again with another set. Here's Bella Peterson again off the tips of the blockers. And a miss hit there. Gets tied up in both Candace and Kimmy Pargin. Sanford stays alive. Here's Bella Peterson with the serve. Almost gets the ace there on the drop shot. Brenlin Smith reached up, ricochets off the hand, out of bounds. No one could catch back up to it. 22-17. 3 points away from taking the set for Sargent. For Smith, up to Reynolds. Here's Crowther, and we'll dump it to the back row. And as Pargin up forward to Bella Anderson, who ricochets back. Cross Bond with the set. Now Reynolds. Here's Crowther. Tipped off the net and gets it in for the kill. Kimmy Pargin dove for it. Pancaked it away. Sanford trying to stay alive. They need a run here. Brenlin Smith with the serve, tips off the top of the net, dug up. Blocked there at the net. And Avery Koenig couldn't get it punched back over. They get tied up there at the net. Well, Sanford now will need to get several points here. We'll need to get the next 3 points at least. And Claire Crowther comes in as he tools it off the blocker. Reese Anderson was there. Makes it 19-23. Brooklyn Reynolds with the serve. And that goes out of bounds. not ideal there, as it is now set point for the Farmers. Peterson up to Reynolds. Here's Bond, and she snipes it in for the kill. Trailing by 4. They need 4 more. Another set point here. Here's Claire Crowther. Tips it off the top of the net. Anderson up to Pargin. Blocked there, and that's out of bounds. So that'll end the set. Sargent wins it 20-25. Samford really shot themselves in the foot that go around. The mistakes and the errors, that could have been closer if not for a lot of missed serves and just general errors on Samford's end. But a well done job by Sargent, who kept that pressure going the entire set. It's the reason why they're undefeated, and you saw it there. They don't make those mistakes as much. They really limit them. And so Samford's going to have to figure that out. Get another chance here in set number 4.
Sargent takes set number 3 by a score of 25-20.
Set number 4 underway here between the Mustangs and the Farmers. Skylar Timmons here with you as we get underway here, and Claire Crowther sitting down. Bella Peterson reaches up and saves that one. A long rally here to kick off the 4th set. Samford leading 2-1 as that one rolls off the hands of Bella Peterson. She can't believe it. And Sargent strikes first, 1-0. Serve comes across. Peterson to the forward. And that drops in. Claire Crowther with a nice little drop shot. Gets the point. And that runs out of bounds. So 2-1, Sanford leads it. High in the air on the first serve there from Brooklyn Reynolds. Candace Sargent comes up big, and that eats up Brooklyn Reynolds, who chuckles to herself. Ties it up at 2. And that serve goes right into the net from Bella Anderson. So Sanford up 3-2. Well, Sanford is going to have to try and limit those errors they've had in these first 3 sets. Somehow they really became more apparent in that third set. Just one too many. Ends up an error, and right there, that's what we're talking about, is Brinlyn Smith trying to dive to her right, sticks a hand up, and it ricochets backward. Ties it at 3. And that drops in for the point. Nice placement there from Mackenzie Consul. Forward, up in the air. Avery Koenig with the swing. Now ricochet off the hands of either Bella Anderson or Mackenzie Consul, but either way, Sanford gets the point, tied back up at 4. Here's Avery Koenig once again on the serve after getting that kill. Standstill serve, drops to the back row. Candace Sargent knocks it over. Gets stuck there at the net. Candace Sargent comes in. 5-4 they lead it, and Sargent will take her place, set to serve for the Farmers. This has been a back and forth affair this evening in each of these sets. Dug up by Smith. Reynolds sets it up, and Peterson will dump it over on the long bump. Here's Kimmy Sargent into the back row. Claire Crowther handles it. Peterson hands it over to Consul at the net, dumped over by Sargent. Tipped over by Shasta Bond. They'll knock it back over. Claire Crowther punches that one, and it's an illegal hit by Brooklyn Reynolds, who doesn't know why it's getting called. It looked like a normal set, but they say no, that's a double hit. And then carries them into the net. Nothing much they can do. It's now 7-4. And we'll get a Sanford timeout here. Good time to call that timeout by Melissa Fawcett. Already we're seeing those errors creeping in again for Sanford. It's those double hits that are happening on those sets, because that was a nice save by Claire Crowther, but then Brooklyn Reynolds gets called for the double hit, trying to set it up. And so it's those free points that you give away. It's not helping anybody. So Sanford will look to try and rebound here, take a breather. Oh, they're still in that driver's seat. Got to get that momentum. They're trailing by 3. Oh, Sargent has less of the pressure in a way because they've played from behind before. It's a good team. You know, they can rally back. Oh, very easily could rally and take these 3 sets in a row and win 3-2. Sanford's got to put the gas pedal on. Stop the momentum, gain it themselves. We'll see if they can do that. That serve from Sargent goes right into the net. So Sanford says, thank you very much. They'll take the serve now. Here's Shasta Bond. Bond with the jump serve into the mid row. Up a big swing by Reese Anderson, comes up with the kill. Extends their lead by 3. 8-5 the score. Here's Kimmy Pargin. That ball has no spin on it, and they managed to get it back over. Nice job there by Reynolds and Shasta Bond. And Sanford carried into the net. Oh, a double hit. No, Jewel Cowley gets carried into the net, pardon. They now lead 9-5. Brenlin Smith receives it. Here's Bella Peterson, sends it to the back row. Deadened by Mackenzie Consul, who will send it over on the 3rd hit. Bella Peterson again, drops it in. Put a little English on it. Any more English and we would have had to throw its tea in the river. And tapped over. They keep it alive on the pancake from Candace Pargin. Good job there. Here's Brooklyn Reynolds up to Claire Crowther and tools it off the blockers. 7-9, Sanford trails. Here's Bella Peterson again with the serve. Stepped forward into the net. Jewel Cowden gets the point off of those legal hits. A little pinball action down low. And here we go, 9-8. Sanford looking to rally back here. Tie it back up at 9. At the net, and that's tipped over the net by Candace Pargin. Or it might have been Reese Anderson. 10-8. Sargent leads it. Here's Katie Deacon with the serve, the last in the rotation. And that goes straight into the net. She's had a couple of those. Here's Brenlin Smith. Up. Now Deacon from the back row. Peterson high in the air. Reynolds will set it up. And Shasta Bond, awkward position, ends up hitting it into the net. 11-9, they still trail by 2. Here's Koenig, Crowther, and Reynolds in the front row. Smith, Peterson, and Bond in the back. Punched across. Here's Bella Anderson. Bella Peterson tapped over by Brooklyn Reynolds. Tapped over and pinballed up. But again, Candace Pargin goes with that little light tapper. The love touch. A little love tap on the ball to drop it in. They now lead by 3, 12-9. Anderson again with the jump serve. And high in the air, Pargin gathers it in. Bella Anderson hits it across. Now here's Crowther on the attack, trying to drop it in. Dug deep, reaches up and knocks it down. Katie Deacon sends it back over. Attack high in the air, kisses the roof, rattles around, but they keep it alive on the nice recovery. Peterson up to Reynolds now. Here's Crowther. Lightly taps it on the flick. Again, Crowther with again another and gets blocked at the net. Thirteen to 9. And another kill here by the Farmers. Candace Pargin. We'll get a Sanford timeout here. Trailing 14-9 here in set number 4. Trying to tie this game up. 2 sets apiece after Sanford took the first 2 on close ones, and then Sargent has really come in, was a tour de force here in set number 3, and now number 4 out in front. Sanford has got to find a way to combat that team and really take advantage when they have that possession. They've either ended up hitting it right into the blockers, so they're getting blocked, they're firing it, they're overshooting their targets, or it's just the miss hit and go straight into the net. It's those little errors that Sanford has run into. That's really eaten away at them. They'll take a chance to recover here. Trailing 14-9. Reese Anderson still on the serve for Sargent. Now, here's Koenig, who saves it from going out of bounds. She'll recover. Consul goes to Bond. Up to Reynolds with the set. Crowther aiming for the back row, misses. 15-9, they trail. That hole is getting deeper. Peterson up to Reynolds. Claire Crowther squibs one in. Here's Koenig, and ricochets off of Katie Deacon. So they back down by 5. Again, looking for that rally roll. They've got the person to serve. There's Brooklyn Reynolds set to go. Yeah, shouts to Bod back to that front row. Serve comes across. Anderson sets up for Consul. Drops it over. Reynolds now up in the air. Here's Crowther, and she'll drop it high off the forearm. Sanford again trying to dump it over, and Koenig knocks it out of bounds. Was trying to drop it in on that left side, but nothing doing. Trailing by 6. Here's Bella Anderson for the Farmers. Back row, picked up by Peterson. Here's Crowther, taps it over. Diving. Arjun, now Reese Anderson. Peterson receives it. Here's Koenig, taps it off the blocker. They'll dump it deep in the corner. Brinlyn Smith went up overhead, tried to hit it, knocked it into the net. Nothing Brooklyn Reynolds could do to save it. They now trail 17-10. At the net. There's Sanford again. Crowther fires one down to bring down the hammer. Sanford got that much needed point. They needed something like that. You hope that can be a momentum shifter. Okay, we got that kill. Let's get that roll now. Serve comes across, received well. Here's Kimmy Parjan, blocked at the net, but knocked back over by Katie Deacon. And tapped over and down by Avery Koenig. They'll try to get that rally. 17-12. Here's the serve by Claire Crowther. Candace Parjan blocked there at the net, but rolls off of Bond and Koenig out of bounds. 18-12. Reynolds now. Here's Bella Peterson. Tips it off the top of the net. Recovered by Reese Anderson. Bodies are bumping into each other. And an illegal hit there. A double hit by Sargent. So Sanford gets the freebie. Stays alive here. 18-13 they trail. Trailing by 5. This is what happened these last couple of sets. Tips off the top of the net, high in the air. Candace Pargin will just push it across. And catches everybody napping a little too far. Avery Koenig dives for it, but can't get it. Here's Candace Pargin. And that gets blocked off the top of the net by Katie Deacon. 20-13, Sanford trails. This looks like it's going to come down to a final fifth deciding set, unless Sanford can go on a miracle here. Shasta Bond looking to do that as she gets the kill. Come in swinging that hammer. And Bond will now take her place set to serve. Here's the serve to the back corner, handled by Consul. And the little drop tapper, the soft hit. Sanford has fallen for that every single time it's happened. They go up for the block, and it becomes a little tapper, lightly into them. Dug up there by Crowther. Bella Peterson sends it to the back row and will drop it in. Coming into the net anyway was Sargent, so 21-15 Sanford trails, still by 6. Bella Peterson now set to serve. Sargent again with a little soft hit over the blockers. I'm not sure what you can do on it. You don't want to get carried into the net, but they keep running into that same problem. Keita Larson will sub in for the Mustangs. They're on that front row. Get a little height. Here's the serve from Katie Deacon. That'll ricochet backward off of Brinlyn Smith. 23-15. Oh, might be. It is looking more and more likely. This is going to a fifth and final set. In the air. Here's Crowther. Dumps it in. High. Blocked at the net. And again, they somehow managed to save it. Here's Consul. Tipped off the hands of Keita Larson. Get it across again. Sargent to Anderson, who dumps it over. Up front to Reynolds. Crowther blocked at the net. Set point here for the Farmers. Trailing 24-15. Trailing by 9. And that goes out of bounds, so Sanford gets a freebie there. Trailing by 8. They have to be perfect from here on out if they want to take it right now. Peterson up to Reynolds. And Bond gets blocked at the net. That'll end the set. 25-16. And we are all tied up 2-2 as we head to a fifth and final set.
Sargent takes set number 4 by a score of 25-16. They're all tied up 2-2.
Well, it's coming down to this, a fifth and final set, 1st to 15 between the Mustangs and the Sargent Farmers. Farmers have an undefeated season on the line, trying to go 16-0. All the Farmers looking to upset and get another victory on the year. It has been a rougher year than most for the Mustangs. Sargent will start with the ball. Reese Anderson will get the serve. Jump serve comes to the back row. Bella Peterson handles it. Up to Reynolds. Now Claire Crowther drops it over. Anderson back up to Pargin, and she'll spike it on the back row. 1-0. The serve from Anderson, dug up by Peterson, up to Reynolds. Here's Koenig, and she aims for that back row and misses. Can't afford to give them too many points. You fall behind, it's not. Sanford has fallen down by 6 at most of the time. And that is just not going to cut it here. Crowther gets blocked at the net, recovered. Reynolds now. Here's Crowther again, and just misses that sideline. 3-0, Sargent leads it. Sanford with a timeout. So 3-0, Sargent leads it here. Here's Reese Anderson, the junior. Up. Here's Crowther. Nothing doing. Now here's Bella Anderson. Nothing doing. Koenig blocked at the net, and it ricochets off the blocker. Candice Pargin. Sanford gets on the board, so they'll get their first chance to serve here. Brooklyn Reynolds trying to tie it back up. The back row. And knocked out of bounds by Pargin. Sanford back within a point, 3-2. 1st to 15 here in set number 5. 2-2 the score, or 2-2 the set score. Handled there by Peterson. Reynolds now, forward set. Crowther tips it over. And an illegal hit called on Claire Crowther. Went with the underhand to try and lift it up, and they end up with the carry. Not what you want. That puts the ball back in the hands of Sargent with Bella Anderson with the serve. Bella Peterson taps it back over, saves it again. She was already on the ground and perfectly hit. Pancaked up by Crowther. They will replay. That was a nice save by Crowther. They called it a point. They'll reserve it. Claire Crowther did pancake that up. They were a little early on the call. High in the air, that'll kiss off the roof. Kimmy Pargin hits it into the net. Sanford gets the point. Back within 1. Substitution as Rose Schwartz will come in for Crowther and set to serve. Here's Schwartz to the back row. Anderson up to Sargent, who ricochets it back. That's heading into the seats. Tie ball game here in the 5th. 4-4 the score. Here we go once again. Comes across, up in the air now. Consul send it to the left side. Reynolds tapped over, and Shastabon redirects. And Sanford's got the lead, 5-4. This one's gonna come down to the wire. 5-4, here's Rose Schwartz again. Anderson up to Consul. Consul will drop it into the back row for the point. Ties it up at 5, and will now get ready to serve. Consul with the serve to the back row. Smith handles it up to Reynolds. And bringing it down, Avery Koenig gets the kill. 6-5, Sanford. As now Avery Koenig gets to serve, Jewel Cowden will sub in, take over in the front row, along with Shastabon and Bella Peterson. Got some height there. Here's the serve, comes across. Deep in range. Dropping it over is Candace Sargent. Better Peterson gets rejected. Still bunched up there at the net. Brooklyn Reynolds will clear some space. White tapper. Reynolds now sets it up again. Bella Peterson tips it off the net. Sargent now back set. Pushed over by Deacon. And here's Peterson again. Tips it off the blockers. Tapped up over the net. Backwards. Kept alive by Schwartz in the backfield. And a big swing by Candace Sargent. Six the score now. Candace Sargent. It seems like whoever scores the point gets to serve next. There's Peterson, tools it off the blockers, and they will give Sanford the point there on a carry off of Reese Anderson. 7-6, Sanford leads it. Volleyball at its finest. The serve from Shastabon. The left side, now here's Consul from the back row. Reynolds, back set. And Brendan Smith sends it over. Push across. Schwartz is there to handle it. Here's, again, another block. And dropping it off the top of the net is Shastabon. Kissed the net and it drops in. And so Sargent will take their first timeout. 8-6, Sanford leads it here in set number 5. Sanford winning the first set 28-26. After which, Sanford then took a 25-23 victory in set number 2, up 2-0. They then fell behind. 25-20 in set number 3, then 25-16 in set number 4. All of those errors, they're getting some momentum here. Makes it 8-6. Here coming out of the timeout. Shouts to Bond, set to serve for the Mustangs. Sanford delivers. Here's Reese Anderson, sends it to the back row, tipped off of Brinlin Smith. Schwartz sends it forward. Bond will dump it across. Setting up at the net, Anderson with a big kill there. Now here's Sanford again. Bella Peterson tips it off the top of the net. And they'll dump it out of bounds. 9-7. They extend the lead. A rotation here. Claire Crowther will come in for Rose Schwartz. Performing admirably as she needed to. But now is headed to the front row, so Claire Crowther will come back in. Here's Bella Peterson with the serve, sends it to the back row. Sargent up to Anderson, lightly taps. And Reynolds now up to Crowther. Crowther blocked at the net. That's been happening to Claire quite a bit tonight. Oh, everything is good up until the final point of contact and just gets on top of it. Sends it right into the net. Here's Katie Deacon. Back row, Bond handles it. Up to Reynolds. Now here's Jewel Cowden. Skims it off the net in the side for the kill. Sanford now leading 10-8, 5 to go. As she'll head to the bench. In comes Avery Koenig in the front row. Brinlin Smith set to serve for the Mustangs. Anderson up to Pergin, and that's into the net. Sanford now leading 11-8. 4 more to win. And a Sargent timeout here. This one's coming down to the wire. One of the better volleyball games we've seen here this year. That's everything you could ask for. Some of the drama, the intensity, the competition between these two teams. You can tell Sanford is fired up, but you got to finish strong. I think that's going to be the most important thing. Staying strong, don't get into their heads too much. Meanwhile, Sargent, they know who they are. They are undefeated. They've lost 3 sets all year thus far. So here we go as they sit in the timeout here, trying to get that momentum back. And Sanford has adjusted well. They've gotten back at some of those light hits that Sargent started to drop in. But now it's, how can you counter whatever Sargent's working on next to pull in? Sargent has used 2 timeouts. Sanford 1. Brinlin Smith with the serve. And that goes straight into the net. Not what you wanted. So Reese Anderson, top of the rotation for the Farmers. Jump serves. Peterson handles it. Up to Reynolds. Crowther muscles one too much into the back row. 10-11. Sanford trying to end this. Here's Anderson again. Brinlin Smith handles it on the receive. Avery Koenig on the attack, nothing doing. From the back row, Katie Deacon sends it to the back to Bella Peterson. And another carry called. The double hit called on Brooklyn Reynolds, who again, not sure why that keeps getting called on her. Sanford will call a timeout here. Tied at 11. 1-4. That has been getting called on Brooklyn Reynolds all night. And she's still confused. Why is it getting called? Well, perhaps to my untrained eye, they look fine to me, but can't quite tell the time of, are both hands hitting the ball at the same time, I guess, is the thing. Is it one hand then the next? which I guess is most likely the call that's being made. I'm still learning the sport. At least the intricacies. I know the basics. This has been an interesting night. This match has gone on for a while. So here we go. Tied at 11. Reese Anderson set to serve. Here's the serve to the back row. Peterson handles it up to Reynolds. Here's Koenig. Went for that back row and they hit it forward. Peterson reaches over to save that one. Here's Crowther. Taps it into the net. 12-11, Sargent back out in front. It's those errors that have hurt Sanford all night. Again, Peterson forward to Anderson. Here's Koenig and tips it off the net. Oh, that's a Sargent point as she comes into the net. Sargent up by 2. Sanford needing 2 points. Dug up by Peterson. Up to Reynolds. Tapped over. Reynolds again. Here's Crowther. Sends to the back row. Now Smith up to Reynolds again. Koenig drops one in for the point. They needed that one. (13-12). Brooklyn Reynolds set to serve. Send to the back row. Pushed forward by Katie Deacon. Anderson up to Pargin. Blocked at the net. Kept alive by Deacon. Blocked there at the net again. Shasta Bond comes away with it. Tied at 13. Hands on their feet. Football team in the stands. Alley there. Here's Console, who'll drop one in. Set match point now for Sargent. Sanford looking to tie as Bella Anderson now set to serve. Sanford needs a point to keep it alive. Peterson up to Reynolds. Here's Shasta Bond. Tips off the hands, high in the air. Anderson up to Console. Into the back row. Peterson now up to Reynolds again. Here's Koenig, tips it over. Now here's Pargin, blocked at the net. Teetered, and they keep it alive. Crowther will just dump it across. And that's in, set point. That's the ball game, 15-13. They take set number 3. They win 3 in a row to win it, keep their undefeated season alive. The mistakes just got too much for Sanford. They really defeated themselves tonight. Heck of a team. There was little room for error with a good team like Sargent. And Sanford will have to head to the bench or head back to the locker room after a well-fought game. Final results in this one. Sargent wins 26-28 in set number 1, 23-25, 23-25, 25-20, 25-16, 15-13. They take the final 3 sets to win 3-2. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. We'll be back here next Friday for volleyball and football. It's going to be a doubleheader that day. We have volleyball and football both taking on Mancus. So you can find us here on the Sanford Events YouTube channel. But this has been Skylar Timmons. Thank you for joining us. Signing off. Until next time, go Big Green.